The prep takes a really long time if you want to do it right. And this is probably a little bit of overkill for a lot of people. But if you're looking to do an incredibly thorough job, this is the video for you. I've refinished hundreds of pieces of furniture over the years, but this time I'm taking those same skills on the road, literally. In this RV Renovation series, I'm priming and painting everything from the walls and cabinets to the refrigerator and adding peel and stick flooring, backsplash, and wallpaper, all with a furniture refinisher's focus on prep and durability. You'll see what worked, what I'd do differently, and how to get great results even in a small space. Hi, I'm Lana, and together, let's make something beautiful, something made for you. So there's a lot of things that need to come off, and taking everything off and taking it out, that's one thing. But figuring out how to take it off is another thing entirely. So I'm moving on to the side now. And I've just flipped up this blind. I'm in the bedroom. I just wanted you to see that these ones are screwed in with a brace. So to make it easier, I'm going to undo the ones that are on the valance and then take the valance off. Probably a good thing that I'm the one in here doing this because there are some tight spaces here. And my husband is 6'3", so he's working on the outside right now, and I am working on the inside. So it probably seems like I'm showing you a lot of just how to take things off, and I'm sure every RV is different, but I just want to show you because, like I said, figuring out how to take things off is actually half the battle. So I unhooked the strap, and as you can see, there are screws in here. So I'm just going to unscrew those and pop these off because I don't want to get paint on them. It'll also be easier to remove this wallpaper border with them off. You can see the stickiness so that you can hear it, and you can hear my husband outside. We'll show you that in a bit, but you can hear how sticky that is. So I'm using this product, Goo Gone. So I'm going to spray it on. This is where the wallpaper border was, and I'm just going to let it sit for a minute. I've got gloves on, it's ventilated, I've got the window open, got the door open so I have a cross breeze. Then I'm using this scraper, scrape off this goo. You can see the reflection, and then you can see how it's not shiny anymore. You can see the goo on there. So my steps are take off all of the sticky residue from the wallpaper border, and then I clean it all with TSP. So that's why you want to clean. Before priming, you should sand down any areas that you want to fill, either holes or areas that are a little bit rough and need to be evened out, and then use some wood filler to do so. After that, you can sand them back when you scuff sand everything else. Okay, so what we're doing now is we are going to scuff sand the walls and the cabinets. We're dealing with a lot of different surfaces here. We've got wallpaper, which can't be removed. We've got laminate, but we need to scuff all these surfaces up to make the primer and paint stick better because these are difficult surfaces to paint. So I've got my Festool sander that I use for my furniture refinishing. You usually want to use a 220 grit to scuff sand. You can use 180 grit, which is actually what I'm using here because I don't actually have 220 right now. So what I did is I just reduced the speed a little bit so that it's not quite as aggressive. And I'm going to show you sanding the wall and sanding the different surfaces. And then we'll likely go back in and do a little bit of hand sanding on this rubber. So putting my mask back on, safety first, let's take a look. This is 220 grit wrapped around a sanding sponge. I really need to get this rubber piping, I guess. I really need to scuff that up. So you can just do it all by hand as well. You don't need a sander. I just find it goes a little bit quicker with the sander, and a little less dusty. But that's all you need to do, really, is just scuff it up. We have a couple of spots on the trim here, and I just marked it with tape so I wouldn't forget, that are coming loose. So I've got a pneumatic nail gun, 23 gauge. I'm just going to go in and nail it back in place. It's a little bit too much for the nail gun, it looks like. Grabbed some weld bond because I had it. Also could use Gorilla Glue. So I'm using a finishing nail, a couple of finishing nails. I'm happy with that now, and I don't have to wait. The walls first got cleaned with Fusion TSP alternative, just what I use on my furniture refinishing. So you just mix a bit of the TSP alternative. You don't really need very much of it. Mix it up in a spray bottle. They were also filled, any spots that needed it, and those got sanded. And then I scuff sanded with 180 grit. You can use 220 grit. And then I wiped everything back with water and a little bit of dish soap. Now I'm going around and taping off all of the windows and along the ceiling and just everywhere I don't want to get my primer. I'm using my favorite tape, which is this yellow frog tape. It is excellent in terms of how well it adheres, but also it happens to be delicate on surfaces. So this is not going to paint very well, and it's similar to my wall color. So what I'm doing is taping it. I actually ended up priming and painting a few other areas where this plastic was, and as it turned out, it primed really well. And then I have to go into the corners and around. Just going to show you one more quick trick to taping. My cutter, and I'm just going to cut right along that edge. I'm going to rip another piece and go in like this. And now that whole corner is nice and taped off. Now I'm priming. Finally. And I'm using this STIX primer because it is supposed to stick to pretty much everything. I was going to get it tinted, but I was told at the store that if you tint it, it loses some of its adhesive properties. I'm going to be cutting in with a brush and then rolling. So I'm going to start with my paintbrush. A trick that you can do with this tape, so I've mentioned this tape already and how it's not the most inexpensive tape, but how I really like it because it adheres really well, but it's also gentle. Something you can do is you can wipe along the edge just with something damp like a paper towel or a rag, and it helps to seal the edges in. It's been really hot here. It's the middle of August in Ontario. I live just north of Toronto in Markham. And we're off this week doing the RV reno. So we started on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. This is Wednesday. And it was around 30 plus humidity. So it was closer to 37, 38 degrees. Very, very humid. And today I think it's 25, which feels so much cooler. I mean, there's still humidity. I think the humidity is not quite as high. So it probably feels like 28 or something like that. And I put the air conditioning on, not blowing too much, but enough to just keep me cool and keep the air flowing in here. This is a microfiber roller. It's 4-inch. And I feel like this is probably good for in here. I'm also really comfortable with this roller because I use it so much for furniture. And I know how to get a nice smooth surface with it. The primer is going on pretty well. I'm really hoping it adheres to this cleaned and scuff sanded wallpaper and to this rubber edging. But I can't worry about that now. All I can do is apply it. And then once it's dry, check to see how it is. It's exciting to be at this part. You know, you do so much work on prep, and like I said, it's so important because without the prep, it just doesn't look nearly as good. And I know that from furniture. I refinish a lot of furniture. The prep always pays off, but it's also super exciting when you finally get to the point where you get to put on primer and ultimately paint. So let's just say that getting to some spots is a little more awkward than others. Oh, crick in my neck. Where are you, screw? Probably gonna fall on my head. And I didn't tape there. So the first spot I decided to go to is the one spot that I didn't finish taping, which is great. Mistakes happen, folks. Mistakes happen. Here's how everything is looking with the coat of primer on all of it.
Next up, painting the walls and cabinets.